Right, just a minute or two before the regular meeting starts. It's very rare that anyone has any comments during the public hearing, and so we typically do that to fulfill our legal obligation, and then we go into our regularly scheduled meeting. So the public hearing tonight is on the following. The Board of Commissioners of the City of Mount Juliet will have a public hearing on September the 28th, 2020 at 6:15 p.m. on the following items to be considered on second and final reading. Amend the fiscal year 2020-2021 budget for the following. 1, addition of a bay to house the ladder truck to the fire station on East Hill Street. 2, the Lebanon Road Sidewalk Phase 3 project. 3, construct an auxiliary facility on Clemens Road for Public Works. 4, increase contractual services for a sewer rate study. And lastly, hire an additional 9 firefighters. Anyone wishing to comment on any of those items and only on one of those items, please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Okay, that's how I thought it would go. So we will close the public hearing. We will go directly into our regularly scheduled meeting. This is the Mount Juliet Board of Commissioner meeting. It is Monday, September the 28th, 2020. It is 6:30 p.m. We do have a quorum present. We do have one commissioner absent, and that is Commissioner Art Giles. And if you would, lift him and his family up in prayer. His wife was taken to the hospital over the weekend. She was to be discharged, I guess, today or maybe tomorrow. I'm not sure of the details. And evidently she's had a setback. So we nevertheless, well, please lift them up, but nevertheless, we do have a quorum present. We have 4 out of 5 elected officials in attendance. The next thing we do is set the agenda. It will be set as published with the exception of one item, which is listed on your agenda as 1113. It is a discussion item on a capital improvement plan. We will talk about that at our next regularly scheduled meeting. Otherwise, it's set as published. If you are in the audience, you'd like to follow along, the agenda is in the back of the room on either side. If you are watching on Channel 3 or on the internet, the agenda is published on the city webpage. Our custom is to start the evening with the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. And I think we have our fire chief or police chief here. We have both. Which one would like to lead in prayer?
So he's got rank, but I've been doing it longer, so I got service. So
how about one of you lead us in prayer and one lead us in the pledge?
That'll work. You mind if I start with that? All right, if you will, indulge me. 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 10 and 11, the author writes, each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. If anyone speaks, they should do so as one who speaks the very words of God. If anyone serves, they should do so with the strength God provides, so that in all things God may be praised through Jesus Christ. To him be the glory and the power forever and ever. Amen.
Let us pray. Father God, we come to you tonight and we know that you hear us. And so, Lord, our prayer tonight is simple, Lord, that we would be endowed with your grace, Lord, with your wisdom, that we would be more like you in all that we do. So we pray this prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
You would rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate that. First item of business is the approval of the minutes from September the 14th. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Question, comments, changes to the minutes? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes 4-0. Next item is citizen comments. Anyone wishing to address the board on any topic, please come to the microphone, the podium, and state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Vince King. I live at 24 4th Avenue. And I wanted to address the board tonight about the transit housing ordinance that relates to the town center, 1.5 mile of the train station. First of all, I'd like to extend a thank you to Jennifer. She helped me with some information this week, and obviously her department is responsible for adding an Exhibit A to the amendment, restricting an area over across the street in our subdivision that we've been asking to be done the entire time that this amendment has been discussed. So we are certainly appreciative of that. And we also hope that if the board does vote to approve this amendment, that this exhibit is definitely included in it. So thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to address the board?
My name is Robin Eakes, and I live at 56 West Caldwell Street. I've been there for 37 years, and I would also like to ask the board to approve Exhibit A and including the map. If you've ever been over on that street, it's an absolutely beautiful, quiet street, and we'd like to keep it like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, I'd like to bring attention to Ordinance 11.4 in consideration of funding spay neuter at the Joy Clinic. Understanding that everyone has an issue with cats and overpopulation of cats, we'd like you all to consider the fact that those funds would be used strictly for prevention with spay and neuter, which would hopefully help limit or reduce the cat issue that you're having in your community.
All right. Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Good evening, members of the Board of Commission. My name is Stuart Resor. I'm an architect, and I'm here to speak on the last item of your agenda. I don't want to speak at this moment in time if I jeopardize my chance to speak at that point later tonight.
This is the only time that we take citizen comments, so go ahead.
It's my understanding with the Lion property, there's the Lions over here. I've got some recent information that came to me this evening. We were anticipating that would be up for a vote today, but I guess that's not going to happen. If it does, it looks like it'll go down to defeat. And so I just want to say that their property fulfills a lot of the things we need in a park south of I-40. It's got a lake. It's got a beautiful building. It's got the opportunity for a nature trail. It has all the original native growth in there. And I won't take more of your time on that, but I was hoping there was a chance that that project could go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to address the board?
Richard Lyons, 1041 South Rutland Road.
And Laurie.
And Laurie, I didn't know you were here.
Yeah.
When we were approached back in June now, almost 4 months ago, by the city to purchase our property to make it into a city park, that was, we had not actually considered that, but we thought long and hard about it. And the first question I asked Rocky when he approached us was, can the city afford this? And he said, yes, they could. So we proceeded, and it developed along up and down and back and forth over the last 4 months. But this is a magnificent opportunity for the city. This 22-acre property with a 10,000 square foot building on it that's already built, that would cost $250 to $350 a square foot to build in today's economy, which would be $2.5 to $3.5 million alone, not including the land. We have offered to the city for $2 million, which is actually what the city had originally offered to purchase the property from us for. Negotiation back and forth, but we've agreed to that price. But the bottom line is that there's so many opportunities there. It was said last week that there was no opportunities to put any playing fields on the property, which is actually not accurate. There's a 5-acre flat pad on this property in addition to the lake and the 10,000 square foot home, and another many acres to put bike paths and walk paths on. But it's really up to the city to make that decision. And it seems actually that the city is not leaning towards wanting to do that. So we're going to pull the property. And we're really sorry, because we think in the most densely populated area of Mount Juliet, it would have been a great opportunity for the city to provide the citizens down there with a wonderful park space. So thank you. God bless you. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you, sir. Anyone?
Can I say something? In the course of all of this, things got, for me personal, ugly on the social media. It's hurtful. We have never gone bankrupt, and that was out there. There was just hurtful information, and it just soured everything. So I just have to say that. I'm sorry. We're good people. It really hurt me, and it can be hurtful in so many ways. So please, when there's discussion on public media, please check your sources and really investigate before you slander people. And I'm not saying you all, you've been great. All of you are great. But what happens with people in these hateful times that's going on in our country, and we were really hoping that this park could be a place of serenity and peace and just a beautiful nature experience for this city, which is a beautiful city. And our intentions were good, but
And
we're
willing to
pulling it.
take $600,000 less than what it appraised for, by
But
the way.
it's all right. It's not fitting for your schedule and your finances at this time. And God bless you. Thank
I'm
you.
very sorry that you had that experience. Some of us deal with that on a regular basis sitting up here at this table. So, anyone else wish to comment at this time?
Well, as my shirt, I'm Karen Quinn. I live at 57 3rd Avenue North, which was the original Professor Caldwell's house that Caldwell Street was named after. And it's was built circa 1895. And it has come to our attention from those you see, there's a lot more red shirts that says Save West Caldwell, that a hotel is being has been discussed to widen the street and commercialize it. And I believe my house eventually was owned by Allie Gibson, and the street was named Jim Joe Alley because 3 people lived on it. And it's probably one of the original, if not the original, street in Mount Juliet, and extremely historic. And their other home, I mean, a lot of people have put their life's blood into their homes, and to have that street widened, it's just a small, very wonderful street to live on. And we all want to save our street. We don't want to see a hotel, for God's sake. Why don't that hotel, if somebody's planning a hotel, put it where the rest of the hotels are. Don't put it on our street and widen it and commercial and make it commercial all the way down one side of the street. We love our neighborhood, and there are many more of us that aren't here tonight that, it would kill almost the value of our homes, it would literally destroy our neighborhood. And and there's more numbers than just what you see here, but it would destroy our neighborhood. And we are not just 100% against it. We are totally against it. And we will do everything we can to fight against anyone destroying our neighborhood and the value of our homes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wish to comment? Okay, seeing none, we will close citizen comments. We will go to commissioner reports and comments, starting with District 1, Commissioner Ray Justice.
Thank you, Mayor. Some of you may know the Page family here in Mount Juliet, and being from Mount Juliet all my life, I grew up around them. They were all friends and continue to be friends. Somebody that was very important to the city of Mount Juliet and our growth and building everything that you see here. A gentleman by the name of James Page, and he was I think it was District 2 Commissioner, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
James was District 2 Commissioner, one of the first commissioners that we had here, and we lost him in the last day or so, and it breaks my heart. Such a fine man, such a wonderful family, and my friend for many, many years. And we are so going to miss him. So I would ask if you would please prayers for the Page family. Lift them up and give them peace. We've lost a big piece of Mount Juliet when we lost James Page. I would also ask if you would to lift Miss Jill Giles up in your prayers as well. I wasn't aware that that had happened, Mayor.
It's just on the way over, I found out.
Is that right? So if you would, I'm not sure the circumstances behind that, but if you would please put her in your prayers and think good, kind, and positive thoughts about the Giles family as well. And finally, the transient piece that we're talking about tonight on West Caldwell, there was a lot of stuff that got brought up that Mr. Sellers, I think he put it in the newspaper, Kenny, if I'm not mistaken, that he would like to build a hotel, but there was never a hotel plan that was ever brought to the city of Mount Juliet. When that was brought to my attention, I had talked to Miss Jennifer, and she came up with an idea, and we worked together to get that worked out so that we could actually, I'm not sure what you would call it, but block off a section of residential so that that area, one of the oldest areas in Mount Juliet, would never have a hotel built on that street. That is ridiculous that anybody would ever want to do that. Fortunately, I think Jennifer and the planning department, y'all come up with a good plan. And I appreciate you doing that. I really do. Thank both of y'all for your work on that. Hopefully we can get that passed tonight and set your fears at ease, because I, like you, think basically it's nuts. So hopefully we can get that stopped tonight before it goes any further, and we won't have to worry about it further down the road. Mayor, thank you.
All right, thank you. Going to District 2, Commissioner and Vice Mayor James Maness.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to thank everybody that participated in the town hall had yesterday evening. Also, if no one else is going to mention it, I'm going to mention this one. Money Magazine just recently recognized the city of Mount Juliet as the 22nd best place to live in the United States, and that's pretty high praise. You think there were a lot of states that didn't even make the list before we got on there, so that's a testament to the community. And a lot of the things that attracted all of us to this community, or if you've been here, one of the reasons you chose to stay. So they highlighted it, I thought, quite nicely. I just want to say too to the Lyons family, I hate to see that social media turned negative on you, but as the mayor said, we sometimes experience some of that ourselves. But it's difficult, and you got a lot of people, keyboard warriors, that hide behind their keyboards and will use the internet to hide behind it. But I can tell you from personal experience, they're rarely that brave in person. So again, just apologize for that you've been put through that. I'd ask you, everyone, to, of course, remember the Page family and what they're going through. It's a major loss for our city. Remember Miss Giles as well. And also, my mother wound up having a surgery today that was a little unexpected. So just keep the people that are, people that are hurting and people that are suffering in your prayers, please. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Going to District 4, Commissioner Jennifer Mullally.
I don't really have a report, but again, wanted to commend the Lions for going with the city after they approached you for, on this 4-month ride. And understand why you pulled it at this point. But thank you for your patience. And again, I'm sorry for the social media. I know full well what that's like. That's all.
Is that it? Okay. And I got just a couple of things too that I would like to mention and comment on. And of course, one is the passing of James Page, an absolutely great man. I thought the world of him. Going to miss him terribly. It just so happens his grandson, Jacob, is in my economics and American government class. And so there's a lot of pain that he's going through and the rest of the family. So just continue to lift them up. Appreciate that. On a better note, we do have a ribbon cutting on a new greenway at the Town Center Trail on October the 5th at 10 a.m. And I hope everybody can attend. I know that's a Monday morning, so I know some people will not be able to, but some of us will be there, and we'll either have our bicycles or our walking shoes and do a commemorative opening walk or ride, I guess. So October 5th, 10 a.m., the Town Center Trail. And by the way, that has been just a huge success. Every single time I go down Division, there's a ton of folks using that facility now. It's really, really added a nice amenity to that part of town. And in fact, I walked on it on Saturday because we had the Wilson Prayer Walk, and there were 3 various routes that anyone could choose from. I chose the shortest route, which was from Cloyd's Presbyterian down the Greenway to basically to the Clock Tower area. And that was organized by Everyone's Wilson. They had a great event, a great turnout, and that, of course, coincided with the prayer walk that was happening in D.C. and in other places. The Vice Mayor mentioned the ranking, the number 22 best place to live in America ranking for Mount Juliet. That is incredibly impressive. And to tag on to that one, we also had a study come out from the Beacon Institute, and we were number 1 in the state for efficiency in government. We were number 8 overall for that category, or for that on that ranking. So lots of accolades for Mount Juliet right now, which is a great thing. And obviously we are in high demand, and lots of people want to live in Mount Juliet, and property values are responding accordingly. And with that, we will go to the city manager, Kenny Martin, for his report.
Thank you, Mayor, Board of Commissioners. Thanks again, as we always say, for everybody coming out and participating in your community tonight. For those that are home, my prayers go out to Vice Mayor Manis's mother, to Miss Giles, and also to the Page family. Nearly 31 years ago, I walked into the old city hall down the road. I had an interview with Mr. Farmer, one of our previous city managers. And I was sitting on a little couch that we still have very close to Miss Luckett's office to this very day. So we don't get rid of much furniture here at City Hall. And I was sitting on that, and Mr. Page come in. So that was the first time I met him. I was waiting for my interview, and he went in and saw Mr. Farmer and walked out. And Mr. Page was a huge cheerleader for this, not only for the city, but for the employees of the city, and in particular, the police department. Back then, we didn't have a fire department, or I'm sure he felt the same way about that. But just as the mayor said and everybody said, a really good man. A lot of people don't realize this, but there used to be a fellow that I used to sit with, and I can't think of his name. He had a home on Lebanon Road, and we used to sit at Burger King. And he told me a story about Mr. Page that he used to, when he was a little boy, he'd sell tomatoes out of the back of a truck, and he was known for falling asleep. And that this gentleman would come up to him and hit him on the bottom of his feet because he didn't wear shoes back in the day. And he'd raise up and he would say, "Maters." He'd yell "Maters" out real loud because that's how he was selling it, sort of like the paper. So y'all hit the nail on the head. He was an extremely good man. I talked to his daughter earlier today, and of course they're heartbroken, but that's a fine family, and we send our thoughts and prayers out to them as well. And a few people ask about my dad. My dad had served in the reserve program for the police department for a lot of years out here, and in recent years he's fallen on some tough times with his health as well. He had fallen and broken his hip, and so a lot of people have been asking me how Dad's doing, or Pops as you guys called him. And he's doing much better. He's going through his rehab and all, and he's got a lot of other health issues. But My mom's taking good care of him, so I want to thank everybody for that. But anybody that's out there that's going through tough times, just please know we're praying for them. And Mayor, that concludes my
Anything else?
report.
Okay, I'm going to add on. I just, you telling that story on James Page just reminded me of one I got to tell. His son, Jeff, many of you know Jeff Page, is when he was a little boy, he would ride in the truck with his dad. And back in those days, you just rode in the front seat. You didn't wear a seatbelt or anything, right? Mount Juliet Road was a dirt road. And they would approach the intersection of Mount Juliet Road and Division. And Mr. Page would say to his son, look to the right, anybody coming? And it became a family joke because no one was coming. There was no traffic. But anyway, how things change, right? All right, with that, we'll go to the business portion of our agenda. All of the elected official microphones are on. We do have 2 items on our consent agenda. Those are items 8.1 and 8.2. 8.1 is an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2020-2021 budget, ordinance 2020-25, to appropriate funds for the Lebanon Road Sidewalks Phase 3 project. Also, item 8.2, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2020-2021 budget, ordinance 2020-25, to increase public works expenditures for the construction of an auxiliary facility at 430 Clemens Road. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions, comments from the commission? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 4-0. Next item is item 9.1, an ordinance amending Part B of the Unified Development Code of the City of Mount Juliet, known as the zoning regulations, ordinance 2001-29, adopted October the 8th, 2001, as amended by amending Article 6, Commercial Regulations, Section 6-102, Uses and Structures, Table 6-102A, to include transient habitation as a permitted use in CTC, Commercial Town Center, zone districts with a planned unit development overlay, and to amend Section 6-1033, Height Regulations, to include transient habitation in the height exemption for buildings within a half mile of the Music City Star station. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second? I'll second. Questions, comments, changes, and I'm sure we need the planning director.
Motion to amend.
Yep, I'm gonna get her up here
Okay.
to explain that.
Well, can we go ahead and have the motion so we can talk about the motion or the amendment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you prepared to talk about the drawing that you gave us? Okay, well, I'll
So-
second.
Okay.
We'll handle this right quick, okay? Questions or comments on the amendment, which is referencing the drawing that was sent to each of us earlier in the week by this planning director?
Drawing in the packet.
Yeah.
Okay.
All in favor of that amendment, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? That amendment's passed. Would you tell us about it?
Sure,
Or tell the audience about it.
sure.
Tell them what we voted for.
We've had a lot of feedback from Mr. Justice and the residents over on West Caldwell concerned about a possible hotel on near their homes. So we've created a map that creates a restriction area that would prohibit any kind of hotel being within this restriction area. It goes from the railroad tracks north to the rear property lines of West Caldwell Street and down 3rd Avenue. So I think that we've done a good job of trying to protect the historical area of Mount Juliet from any type of hotel that might come in over there.
Okay, since you recommended, I'm assuming you're satisfied?
I am satisfied.
Okay.
Many maps later, I'm satisfied.
All right, other questions or comments from the commission? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay, on behalf of the hotels on the south end of town, District 4, I'm going to vote no.
Okay, that does pass 3-1. Next item, 9.2, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2020-2021 budget, ordinance 2020-25, to amend the emergency services budget to add a bay to the east side of FDMJ number 3 to house ladder 111. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments from the commission? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That passes 4-0. Item 9.3, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2020-2021 budget, ordinance 2020-25, to increase sewer contractual services for the completion of a sewer rate study. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments from the commission? Ms. Dana, you got an update for us on that?
We did receive official confirmation from the comptroller's office. They are going to require a rate study, as well as a few other items, including the education for the board, which has been a requirement that they want it done by December 31st.
Okay, so we did get the official letter that
We
we
did.
do need to do this. Okay. Any other questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes 4-0. Next item is 9.4, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2020-2021 budget, ordinance 2020-25, to appropriate funds for the addition of 9 firefighters for the Mount Juliet Fire Department. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments from the commission? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay. That's passed 3-1. Next item is 9.5, a resolution to, are we considering that?
The building.
Which one is this?
I mean, it's on the agenda. We didn't delete it. We'll have to go ahead and do it. A resolution to approve a sales agreement with Richard and Laurie Lyons for 21 acres of land located at 1041 South Rutland Road, map 96, parcels 1401 and 1601, to be used for parks land for $2,300,000 as approved by Resolution 43-2020 on August the 24th, 2020, and to authorize the mayor to sign the sales agreement. Is there a motion? Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Motion to defer indefinitely.
Can we hear, is Rocky going to give us an update on this, all this? We've got your PowerPoint. You're going to talk about all that? This is when it's on the agenda. It'd probably be a good time.
I think you have it on here again.
Yeah.
First, I'd like to thank you guys for letting us take a breath and step back and put an RFP out there and just start looking around. And what happened, and I'd like to apologize to the Lions myself. This is partially my fault, and I did. When I was told to go find land, parkland, I got with the GIS guy and we started looking up. And anytime we found a parcel big enough, we would call them up and say, hey, you want to sell? And we got with Lions Property. It's beautiful. And everything we've looked at, guys, has been pretty. We don't want to put none of this land down. Any of them would make a great park. And nothing against the Lions. They were more hospitable. They took us in. They showed us around. But what happened when we started doing this, the word got out and everybody kept coming up and saying, hey, and it's just like buying a car. We started out with this one, then a better one came, a better one. In our opinion, land with better usage started coming up. And we stepped back and we said, hey, let's put it out there. And after a week, we did get one more hit. So we took the land committee and the parks board and we took them to task Thursday night. And we had 12 items that have showed up, chunks of land. So what they did, they looked at them, we went down and we went pros and cons. I think y'all got it in your packet, going over the pros and cons and their choice. And what they did, they came up with, and what we'll show here is the first one, the one that they chose, that's the first one that they like, is a McFarland property. I think the city commission is well aware of this land. It's 47 acres right over here, right behind Clearview Valley. It's 47 acres for that magic number, 2.3 million. But if you'll notice, it's got a lot of flood in it. And that was one of the things holding us back, but it is flat, it's level. And so we got to looking and we started going over our pros and our cons and our conceptual plan. There was a plan we found from 2010 that showed a rendering of what this plot could be. And the park committee fell in love with this. And this became their number one choice of a sportsplex with baseball, girls baseball, softball, and with soccer and football fields right there. That was their number one choice. And that's kind of the rendering they kind of fell in love with. That was the first choice. And then we went on, we looked, and then it came to the Thompson property. And before going deeper, what we found out is when we started looking for parkland, we really didn't have the definition of parkland we were looking for, Because it seemed like everybody we talked to, what they thought of parkland was different. You know, some people, if you ask somebody, what do you think when you go to a park, they're looking at green space, a place to go throw a frisbee, lay down a blanket, have a picnic. Then you go over and talk to this one. They're looking at a place to go play baseball, football. So we got caught in that. And that's something we kind of got tied up in. What was we looking for? What parkland? And that's where we got hung up a little bit. We started looking now at the median age in Mount Juliet. Median age here is 36.2. So, you know, we started going back to that. And the whole basis of this is we want to affect the majority. We want to be a diverse park. We want everybody, not just, and I know, and I'm guilty of it too. I build most of my parks for children, but we've got a lot of adults out here now that need to get out. And you can see down there at Town Center Trail. You give them a trail, man, these people out there on it, they're wearing it out right now. So that's where we're at now. Now, number 2 came in was the Thomason property. Completely different, complete opposite from the McFarland property. This is hills, big green space. It's got a lot of valleys, peaks and valleys. Now, this one here is mostly just going to be used for walking trails. Something like if you're in Gatlinburg or Radnor Lake or something where you want to go out and just get lost in the woods. This is one of the few places in Mount Juliet in the next 20 years, you're going to be able to find 60 acres of land where you can go and be secluded. And that's what this is. It's a place for nature parks, cross-country meets. It's really just seclusion is what you have there. And at the price, $16,000 an acre, there's nothing in Mount Juliet. I'm telling you, that's going for $16,000 an acre. So that's what put this at number 2. It's another park that we fell in love with. And like I'm saying, the Lions property, there was nothing wrong with the Lions property. It's just there were better options. Number 3 was Bradley's Barn property. It came on at number 3 out of the 12. It's got, I think, 62 acres. It's got 2 acres around the barn there. And that barn, if you're not aware of the history, it's got a recording studio in it where Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, anybody in country music has cut a song in there, and it's still going. The recording studio is still live, and it's full. If you've never been there, it's full of all kinds of history. And they were talking about opening up a country music museum there, kind of like the Country Music Hall of Fame. And it was going to be a tourist destination along with other things in the city of Mount Juliet. And that was part of what we were looking at. It's a historical landmark. The ground outside the 60 acres is kind of rough, but it's something you can make something. But again, what keeps this one out, it's a lot like Thompson property. Thompson property is a lot nicer property for a park than this one was, but it's got the historical on the thing. And then we go to number 4, which is Jeremy Hayes. Jeremy Hayes calls me. He's got 35 acres on the south side of town, off of Central Pike on Southwest Cooks. That's just nice. Another one that would be beautiful parkland. Now the fallback on this one, the pros and cons, is it's got utilities crossing it all over. It's got a power line going one way. It's got a gas line going the other way, which is a con. It's going to take a bridge. It would have to be put in across the creek there. And again, that would be another one for walking trails and green space, and which is something we really need now. But another excellent track. That falls at number 4. And then last but not least was the Lions property. And again, this was another one that was going to make, the whole fallback on the Lions property was the house. The 10,000 acre house, 10,000 square foot house was just going to be too big of a hurdle to jump over for us. Because when, and I know the gentleman here was going to talk earlier about putting it in for events, wedding events and stuff. And we've already been told we don't want to go in competition with private industry. And I agree with that entirely. So that's the reason it was moved to number 5. But then in the 11th hour, when we're putting this together, this one hits. And this is what's been going to me all year, is every time we get ready and we think we found the perfect property, now Hollis Hassett property jumps up. And if you look up there, it's 3 tracks. It's 63 acres. It's adjacent to the McFarland property, which is dead center of downtown, and it can accommodate everything we're looking for. It's got the woods, it's got the open spaces, it's flat, and none of it is floodplain. And if you put the rendering to it, of what we're looking at. There it is there. You put the rendering on it, and here's what we got. Now we've got a parkland that can accommodate ball fields all over, a big parking lot, a future community center, and 35, 40 acres of walking trails, all in one park. So what we're asking you for right now is just, again, we want to bring that to your attention, let you look at it. These are our 5, 6 top choices. We need y'all to come back now and say, hey, this is what we think would be best for the city. Give us the green light to go negotiate these properties. But I think out of these 6, there's one that's a real winner up there right now. And that's what we're asking of y'all. This is where it comes back to y'all. Y'all tell us which ones you want me to go after, and we'll be glad to go after it.
What was the price on that last one?
$3 million, 63 acres.
So you said there was a winner. Is that what you mean when you say the number one?
I'd say one of those 5, since the Lions had pulled out, one of those 5 is definitely our future parkland. It would be great for the city. And yeah, the Hassett property has probably jumped to the front. But again, if you ask me, and again, I think our best bet, in my opinion, would be the Thompson property at $930,000. And with buying the other property, that's going to give me 60-something acres, and I'm still going to have $1.5 million in the bank to build them up and develop these properties. The only thing that scares me about these is it's going to break me. It's going to drain the pot, and it's going to be a while before we can develop anything. But again, we got to do this stuff in baby steps. So I'm at your mercy. You tell me what you want, where you want to do it, and we'll put you a park there.
The ranking was developed by
The Parks Board and the Land Search Committee. There's 15 people there. Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I'm going to make a motion then that we substitute on 9-5 the Lions property for the McFarland property. Is there a second to that? Okay.
Thank you,
Well,
guys.
I was ready to vote for a park in Providence, and I was ready to vote for a park
And I
in the
appreciate
middle of
that,
town,
sir.
and there's no political will to do that, either one. So,
I appreciate that. Thank you, guys.
all right. All right, back on 9-5. Questions or comments from the commission?
I've got a motion to,
I made a motion to defer, but I don't think it got, defer indefinitely, but
Okay, was there a second?
yes, I second that.
Okay, there's a motion to defer indefinitely. The debate now is on the advisability of deferment. I don't see any reason why we would defer, so I'm going to vote against it. But what would be the logic to defer? We've been talking about this for weeks.
They just took it off of the market. They just took it off. They said they were not.
No, there's 6 different properties that were ranked 1 through 6 as to what we could substitute for.
Okay, I understand that, but this is specifically the Lions project. Is it not?
I made a motion.
There's another item for that.
this is back on the agenda, 1111.
Okay, I'm sorry. What is 1111?
This is for the negotiations. And this
Okay. Well, we
agenda item was for the contract.
Well, we could have handled it on 9-5 if we had made a substitution, but that's fine. All right. All in favor of 9-5 and the deferral, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Nay.
Nay.
That does not defer.
Okay.
We're still on 9-5. I'll renew my motion that we substitute the Lions property for the McFarland property. Is there a second on that? Okay, still not. All right. What would y'all like to do?
Well, I went to the Parks Board meeting Thursday night, and was that last one on there? Okay. Yeah, because what you showed me on the community center looks more appealing to me than just a sports complex. I understand the idea of the sports complex back on McFarland, which looks really nice, but most of that is a flood area. And as you stated, we don't really need football fields.
I said there's more of a want than a need for fields right now.
Yeah.
Careful with our words.
Okay.
I'll be reading this on social media tomorrow.
All right, but that one to me, I don't like the price, but that one too. Let me just say this. I did a poll and I wanted to know specifically on the south side of town.
Right.
What is your vision of parkland green space on the south end of Mount Juliet? 32%, almost 33% said nature trail, walking trails. Next, it came in at rec center, 11%, fishing, 11%, which the Lions property was going to have, tennis courts, swimming pool, splash pad, skate park, and a big one was more for children. And I don't mean fields, but
Right.
more for
Playground.
children and more for seniors.
Right, and that's what
So-
we're battling with right now, and we're a very diverse group out
In
here.
other words, something for everyone on the south end of town. I mean,
Much like Charlie Daniels has right now.
yeah, something
Yeah.
comparable, which I had said the whole time, something comparable to Charlie
Well,
Daniels.
one point, if I may, we at one point, like in 2010, this body was looking at selling Monday Park. We had an appraisal done, and I think we were going to buy this track or the McFarland track and move the football over there. And that would open Monday, or that would open us up and possibly be what we do here. But or we could buy this and take Monday and move football here and open Monday up, much like a Charlie Daniels, and get rid of the fields and open it up, much like a Charlie Daniels Park there, which in land, it's the biggest park we have in the city right now at 29 acres.
So what's the best way to get this off of the agenda? Just an up or down vote or what?
You mean on the Lions?
Yeah,
Well, they
because
pulled it off the market.
they pulled
That's
it,
why I
so-
tried to substitute and use another piece of property, but, I mean, I was for it. And I thought a park in Providence would have been a great thing. This particular property that you came in Friday morning, you had mentioned that these other deals would drain you. Well, this one costs even more.
Yeah, that's the danger. Yes, sir.
And then that infrastructure is even more.
But what we could do, well, it's got a lot of infrastructure in it. It has the sewer, it has the water, it has the electricity available that's already there. But the thing I was thinking about, if I'm gonna go broke, I want to go broke with something I want. But if, the other thing is we could negotiate this. We're not through negotiating. I mean, I don't know where I think the realtor's here, that we could start negotiating right now. But I was thinking about putting down and do an owner finance or something. I don't know if that behooves y'all or not, but it's just another
What?
option.
but that was offered on the Lions property as well.
Yes, ma'am, but it wasn't, the Lions, and no disrespect, but the Lions doesn't hold a candle to this. And if I'm going to finance it, I want to finance something I want, not just the first thing I popped into. And again, I want to apologize to the Lions. That's me. I called the Lions. I did. And I asked Richard if he was for sale. And we did. We went into heavy negotiations but again, the word there is negotiations. And then we found something a little better, but not saying anything about the Lions property. It is beautiful property. And all of these are great properties, every one of them. There's nothing wrong with any of these. It's just which one's the best fit for the city of Mount Juliet. And that was the job we were tasked to do, and find out which one.
Well, I
And-
wasn't crazy about McFarland because it was a lot of it was in the flood
Yes, ma'am.
area, and there's no room for a community center, which obviously people want,
How many
Exactly.
at
acres?
least on the
I'm-
south end of town.
Sir,
How many acres was McFarland property?
47.
47?
Yes, sir.
And this one's how many?
This is 63. And again, the number two, the Thompson property coming in at 57. And I mean, to me, the Thompson property was a no-brainer. It was 16,000 acres, 57 acres. That's one we should have bought with the Tates when we was going for it. But again, that's one of the top two now in top three that we've got presented up here. But again, it's y'all's choice. Y'all make the choice on this. All we do is present it and tell you what we think we can do with it.
Let me bring in the Public Works Director. He's asking for the microphone.
One thing to note for the McFarland property, we did have a development proposal prior on that. We had extensive conversations with their engineering team on that. There is a way to bring that out of the floodplain. You can cut and balance the fill in there. And so it would create some room if we wanted to establish some buildings on that property. You could be able to do that. And so that would definitely be a possibility. So I would say while the floodplain lines are there today, don't think of that as the end all be all. We can revise that.
Okay, thank
Mayor?
Question on that, the floodplain issue, does any of that work that would require to bring that out of the floodplain require FEMA approval?
That is
beforehand?
correct. It would.
Do you
Yes.
recall if the developer had that approval?
They did not. I believe once they would have gone through the process to get the PUD approval, that would have
That would
been
be
their
the next step.
Correct. Basically, what you do is you go through and you just balance out your numbers. You do the work, and then you go to FEMA for approval.
So is that, basically a given as long as they balance, or is it possible that we're going to acquire the land and not get that approval, or?
I think it would be a given.
Okay.
Yeah.
The fact that there's some floodplain, and I know you can do what you have just mentioned, but pretty typical that greenways are in a flood area, as are many times even soccer fields. I mean, I know the entire K.R. Harrington soccer facility, which is, gosh, I don't even know, a dozen fields, it all floods.
Mayor Mount Juliet Little League Ballpark.
Well,
That's
there you
correct.
go too. So, I mean, you can't put a structure in that area, but you certainly can put a playing field.
That's correct. And I'll be honest, from a flood administration standpoint, you talk about area of property that can flood. To me, parks, greenways, things like that, playing fields, things that have they could flood and they're not going to be damaged. Those are great uses for those areas.
What about this, Rocky? What if we bought McFarland and this property?
Hey, that's great to me. I mean, I'm tickled to death.
I mean, that'd give you 100-acre park, something.
Yeah,
that
that
you could really
give
do
me a
something.
super sportsplex then, yeah. I don't know when we develop it, but by George, we'd have the footwork there, yeah. That'd be great.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion that we do exactly that. Substitute on 9-5 Lions and substitute the McFarland and then the Hollis Hassett to give you permission to go negotiate.
Okay.
You're talking
Thank-
$5 million?
Well,
5 point.
he's going to negotiate it, but it sounds more like it's going to be,
We're gonna get it down under 5.
okay? Is there a second on that?
The second your motion to put both of these properties together to negotiate on the price.
The McFarland, which is immediately to the left of that red marking,
Mm-hmm.
and then this Hollis Hassett property would give you almost 100-acre. Am I right?
They give me
60
110 acres.
110-acre park, which is
Yeah,
really
would
what we
triple the
were,
size of our existing park.
that's
now.
what we were looking at the Baltz property some
Yes, sir.
years ago. It was actually 127, the way the deal was constructed.
Right.
We never could get that to
It would-
close. So
Yeah, it would catch us up a lot in the parks department.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
so anyway, that's my motion to,
I'll go along with that one.
okay?
So that's just to let them go ahead and negotiate?
Correct.
That's not saying that we like the price?
Yeah, that was, and I don't know, but maybe that's what the mayor was getting at earlier, but the resolution is written was for the contract, but he's saying negotiate, so it's just different. I mean, it's something that's going to come back that we can look at and see what actually winds up.
No.
That's your understanding, Mayor?
That is exactly what my
Okay.
motion
Now,
was.
the only thing I've heard, I mean, just being transparent I can, I heard a cut and fill would cost a couple $1 million to do a cut and fill. Is this right, Andy?
Yeah, I would say so.
Well, if
So-
you had 110 acres and 20 of it's in the flood, the rest is not in the flood, I don't even know if you'd bother doing a cut and fill.
I understand, yeah.
That'd be up to some future,
accurate.
well, be up
Yeah.
to engineering team and,
I just want to be transparent. I didn't want to step in and we get that. Yes.
I mean, when the contract comes back, well, say when the negotiation comes back, if we decide to move ahead with a contract, I mean, I would like to see as much of that type of cost captured in the thing before we commit to something on this. If it's going to be a $5 million purchase of land and it's going to cost another $10 million to do anything or bring it to what you want, I mean, maybe a phased approach into it or something, but
Definitely.
I want to know, I don't want to pay for just some tires for a car and not get the rest of the car
I
with it.
understand. Yeah, we'll come back with numbers to do a cut and fill and what it would take to bring it up to Yeah,
If
we'll
you
bring
would
it up.
also, Rocky, find out what floodplain property actually goes for per acre.
Okay.
Okay, because
You got it, Brad.
this is ridiculous. I mean,
It's,
you don't buy a floodplain like this. I mean, and the mayor will tell you should. on numerous occasions when we've asked developers to donate floodplain because the actual usability of that property is nothing.
Right.
I mean, it's just nothing. And so now we're going to spend $50,000 an acre on nothing.
Let me go back to the engineer because I didn't understand that. Did we just say we could or could not use property? This total is 110, I think, is what Rocky said.
Yes, sir.
20 of which I think is in the floodplain. Can we not use some of that 20 for a ball field, a soccer field, without doing a cut and fill?
Yeah, you could use all of
Okay.
it for fields.
Okay, all right. Just want to make sure I understood. Well, you could use it for a major park. It does the whole, I can't imagine that the recommendation would come back that we put 50 soccer fields across there. We build a regional park over time, much like Charlie Daniels was. Charlie Daniels wasn't all there day one, folks. Took many, many years to get to where it is.
Yeah, we could put pavilions and walking trails down on that end. Yeah.
I
And they
would
could
think you put
withstand
a
the
walking
flood.
trail along that whole creek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the feedback I get is 2.3, which was the original price, and then down to 2 is too much to spend on parkland. I mean, that's the feedback I get.
But
I would-
we're
I
at Mount Juliet.
I would also want to throw in here that I was looking at one of the comments that you had made that all of the utilities go to this property. It's got sewer, it's got water, it's
Yes,
got
sir.
electricity, obviously goes to it. And it's in the middle of town, which normally, and I'd like to see what the land use actually calls for that to be, because that would normally be commercial property and be used as revenue generating property for the city, as opposed to turning revenue generating property into something that generates no property tax and no sales tax.
Right.
And the other piece to that is if we do move ahead with Parks land on this, a lot of these improvements to Lebanon Dirt Road that would normally be handled by developers on this is going to fall back on the responsibility of the taxpayers. So, I mean, but I am still curious to see what negotiations can render from this.
Yeah, I will say on the PUD approval that came in, he was unwilling to do the improvement on Old Lebanon Dirt Road. He did part of it where it bordered his property, his potential property, but he was unwilling to do it behind the Valley Center, which was the key piece. And that may have been why the deal fell through too. I don't know, but
Was that the floodplain report?
it was that guy from Chicago, and he said, you've got to fix, doesn't do any good to fix the eastern part of the road and not do the part that connects to Mount Juliet Road, and he was unwilling to do it. But nevertheless, this would give you quite an opportunity in the fact that it is in the middle of town and might be used for some type of commercial development. Actually, that's for me a reason to purchase it for parks so that it is not. I mean, in fact, the Lions property, one of the benefits to me was that we would preserve some green space in Providence in a heavily populated area. That was a huge advantage. In fact, I suspect now we're going to end up with a development proposal to put, RS 15, and Lord knows we've approved those every day, seems like. And I bet you a whole bunch of people in Providence are going to be in this room saying, please don't offer that, grant that approval for RS 15 because we're getting smothered over here. Same rationale here is we can preserve some property from development in the middle of town. That would be incredible.
It'd be great.
But personally, I think it's too much money for both properties. I like that one, but would like to see it negotiated at a lower price.
Well, look, we'll definitely go negotiate.
Okay, how much is in the budget? 6.7 million is in the budget for Parks Land. So this is 1.4, even unnegotiated, 1.4 less than what is budgeted. Yeah. Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor of doing that, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Okay.
What if
Okay,
we-
we're not going to buy any parkland today.
Well,
folks.
I'll put a motion out there to negotiate on the Hayes track then.
That was number 4 on the listing.
It was. Seems like 1, 2, 3. Did I miss one, Rocky?
Bradley, you missed Bradley.
Bradley.
Yeah, there was 6. There's the Bradley Barn. They're coming up now. That's
I
five.
wasn't overly excited on
That's
that one.
four.
It's 4.
Yeah.
I think we took,
Is there a second to that motion? Okay, I don't hear a second on that. All right, well, let's just go back to deferral. This is going nowhere.
Well, I'd like to amend to do the same thing, but add that Hollis property on there, but negotiate at a lower price. I don't like that price.
Hollis alone?
Huh?
Hollis alone?
Yes.
Okay.
Your motion is to do the newest property
What
right
your
here?
motion, the same as your motion, but only that property, but to negotiate at a lower
We're
price.
just taking off the McFarland property.
I see. Okay, I'll second that. I think it's, I mean, I'll vote for it, but I think it's a little short-sighted. I think you ought to go for the major park, but
well, we got 2 continuous pieces.
I don't know how you pass that up.
I mean, just negotiate just to see what you get. I mean,
All right.
worst they can tell us is we're crazy.
Yeah.
Well, we get that on social media a lot, so.
Yeah, I've been told that a bunch. So.
Mayor, I'm trying to find the 60-acre tract. Is that 2 tracts?
That's 3 tracks.
It's 3,
Yes, sir.
and that's on the north side of,
Of Old Lebanon Dirt Road, next door to McFarland.
hang on a second.
The north side? South side?
South side. Sorry.
South side of Old Lebanon Dirt Road?
Yes, sir.
Southeast. East.
Okay, all right.
East of McFarland. Yep. All right, we got a motion for this one property in a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? All abstentions. Okay, that does pass. 3 votes for it, no votes against, 1 abstention. Okay. Next item is 11.1, an ordinance to rezone property known as 1411 Old Lebanon Dirt Road, property being found at map 73, parcel 39, from residential RS40 to residential RS30, and being located within the city's urban growth boundary. Is there a motion? I'll make a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments from the commission? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes 4-0. Next item is 11.2, an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet approximately 42.1 acres, property known as the Ferguson property, and being found on Nonneville Road, map 50, parcel 119, and being located within the city's urban growth boundary. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments from the commission?
Mayor, if I may,
Yes, sir.
this is coming in, looks like it's coming in straight zoning. Andy, somebody help me out with that.
Yes.
It is coming in with straight zoning, and that is coming in with RS30. Is that correct?
Correct.
So what are we getting out of that as far as where is it going to, give me the ingress. I do have some issues with the ingress and that I need to talk about.
Sure, we had an exhibit that did not make it for some
I'm sorry?
reason. It didn't upload, so if you don't care, can I bring this to you?
Please.
This exhibit?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So their plan is to tie into the existing Wintry Trace and again over at Summer Lake.
And where?
Summer Lake. It's the subdivision off North Green Hill Road.
Oh, okay.
Ringcrest,
Okay.
Summer
All right,
Lake.
what are you talking about? Talking about Ringcrest.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I just have to say that we're really excited in the planning department to start getting these developments come in with RS30 zoning, bigger lots. And they've actually followed the land use plan. This is going to
This
be,
is actually the second piece that we've got that's coming in RS30.
yes, sir,
the
the
Robinson property
previous,
also?
yes, sir. The previous item on the agenda, yes, sir.
Jennifer, you said Nonneville Road and Rencrest. Did I hear that right?
Through Wintry Trace.
Through Wintry Trace, not Nonneville.
Oh, through, no access to Nonneville,
No,
correct?
sir. It's essentially landlocked without those connections.
What, right here is off of Veneta View, where it's stubbed out.
So it's the stub off Veneta View?
So I think
It looked on the map like it was a parcel away from connecting.
that's also an undeveloped part of Wintry Trace.
Okay, so that will be extended through.
Yes, sir.
Okay, is that it?
Mayor, if I may, I would like to, I am tickled to death with RS-30 because of the less dense,
Correct.
zoning that takes into account. It does tie into a piece of property that it was not a PUD. It came in straight zoning with Windtree Trace. And the number of lots, the way it got laid out, I'm just tickled to death. So, I mean, and the more that we can come in with
We've
with
been
that
working really
lower
hard to get
density.
these for y'all.
Huh?
We've been working really hard at staff level to try to get some of these lower density developments coming through.
Yeah, this one has got me excited. I'm glad because, I mean, it doesn't put a bunch of traffic back on Nottable Road, and it's the less dense that we're looking for, more rural that we're able to keep
Correct.
on the north side of town. So that's pleasing.
Okay, all good?
Yes, sir.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 4-0. 11-3, an ordinance to rezone property known as the Ferguson property being found at map 50, parcel 119 from Wilson County residential R1 to residential RS30 and being located within the city's urban growth boundary. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Questions, comments from the commission? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes 4-0. Next item is 11-4, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2020-2021 budget, ordinance 2020-25, to appropriate funds to donate to the new Leash on Life program by Joy Clinic. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments?
Mayor, and I was a little confused with this. This was not included in the grant package. Did they just not know about it, or what's that?
I'd say the city manager would need to answer. It's under his authorship.
Yes, sir, Mayor, and I'm going to defer to the chief who can give a little bit more detail than I can.
All right. I can speak. Thank you. This was not in that original grant package. What it is, the Joy Clinic with New Leash on Life, that program, we've been benefits of it for some years with the program that they trap, spay and neuter, and then release back into the city. But that funding source and that grant source went away from them. So we're requesting this because as of this year alone, we've already sent about 50 such animals to them. And so our recommendation is to give a grant of $1,000 to assist and to keep costs down and to save city money. When we trap these animals, they are spayed and neutered there. It's approximately $30, which is if we go to our local vets, that fee is about double.
Yeah,
Right.
Chief, it makes good sense. I don't think anybody's arguing that. I think the issue was we have a grant process.
Yeah, we
People
didn't know
apply.
about it at that time.
Yeah, and we are bound by resolution to a certain amount for the grants, and we hold to that. And not that we can't bust through it, but we can, but we try to be honoring that resolution.
Mayor, may I make a
And so it's,
suggestion? If they are providing a service exclusively and the police department has vetted, pardon the pun, that organization to provide that service, then can we not do a budget amendment, add that amount to the police department's fund? And
yeah, we can, instead of being a grant,
it would be part of their,
still $1,000, but it's
Yeah.
part of
would
the
that,
police budget. instead.
that kind of follows the process, I think is what,
Okay.
we did
I
it
see
that
what
way.
you're saying.
Almost treat it like a vendor.
Correct.
Looks like city manager wants to weigh in.
Yeah, Mayor, I would appreciate that because what it does is when they do their veterinarian services for the future, that's a good call. They could just add that into their annual budget.
Well,
That saves
Is-
us from opening grants back up
yeah.
year round.
Is that something that we can do tonight, or we can do that? Well, what I would like to do then, if we could, is to amend this to a budget ordinance.
Budget amendment for the police department
Yes,
for
sir.
$1,000. Okay, good by me.
Ma'am?
I don't know that it matters. I mean,
Yeah, it's
police-
wherever y'all,
Just for
Would allocate.
clarification, so I know where to put it.
if you could insert the correct line item that it would go into at that point, and then we could vote
I don't
accordingly.
really think it's animal. It's under, is it?
Animal control.
It is?
Yes.
All right.
$1,000 to animal control. Need to
Okay.
second that. That was your motion
That was the
then.
motion, yes.
Yep.
The
All
motion.
in favor of doing it that way, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, back on the ordinance 11-4. Any other comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye again.
Aye.
That passes 4-0. Next item is 11-5, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2020-2021 budget ordinance 2020-25 to appropriate funds for the Royal Oaks Pump Station project. Is there a motion?
Motion. Second.
Second. Questions or comments from the commission? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 4-0. Next item is 11-6, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2020-2021 budget, ordinance 2020-25, to appropriate funds for police department canine veterinary services. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
The second.
I'll second.
Yeah.
Questions or comments from the commission?
I was just reading the.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 4-0. Next item is 11-7, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2020-2021 budget, ordinance 2020-25, to appropriate funds for a cost of living adjustment for city employees. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments from the commission?
Mayor, the reason I put this on there, one of the had talked about it to begin with, it during the budget process, we talked about the uncertainty of our sales tax numbers due to the COVID-19. I don't think anybody realized that what was happening was we were actually increasing our sales tax revenue by upwards of 40% over what we anticipated. And so this, I think you had made the comment at that time that we would bring us back somewhere between 3 and 6 months for
Yes.
reconsideration. And
I've
so,
been shocked, to say the least, at our sales revenue,
Yes,
sales tax
yes.
revenue.
so that's the reason I've
Yeah.
asked to put this back on the budget.
And I've racked my brain to figure out why it is, but I guess people are staying home and buying.
Well, all the people from
Mhm.
Nashville are coming here. So.
Yeah. I mean,
And
go out there and try to buy a kayak right now. Good luck.
No,
Can't
no,
get one.
don't.
Yeah.
Buy one and rent it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would like it noted, if this passes, that this is not a raise for us, anyone on this board, it's for city staff.
No,
So,
this is no,
please
there's
no.
no.
We are not butting
raise to
ourselves
the
a
city
raise.
commission.
Good point. All in
Thank
favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? That passes 4-0. Next item is 11-8, a resolution approving an agreement between the city of Mount Juliet and CEC for multi-purpose fields at Tate's Lane and West Division, and authorizing the city manager to sign the agreement. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 That passes 4-0. Next item is 11-9, a resolution approving an agreement between the city of Mount Juliet and Kimley Horn for consulting services to prepare an application for the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation Local Parks and Rec Fund grant for improvements to Mundy Park for a maximum $1 million grant that is a 50-50 match, and authorizing the city manager to sign the agreement. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments?
When would this $500,000 be needed in the budget?
Who can take that? Okay,
It would be upon approval of the grant from the granting agency. So we wouldn't know until then. So if we get the grant, we would come back to confirm the matching funds at that time. So in other words, you submit, it's a very, I think of the right word, competitive, I guess would be the word, grant process. And it was a bit of a no-brainer for us to, at least, we felt like the way the city was situated to apply for the grant. And so I put that in front of Mr. Lee, which I think has already left for the evening. And so basically we'd be submitting for the grant.
what is it you're wanting to do?
It would be a playground similar to, it's actually different options of the grant that you can apply for, but if you're familiar with the current park that we've got or the playground at Charlie Downs Park, it'd be something similar to that. So if you don't
Okay.
get the grant, then you wouldn't expend any funds.
Gotcha. Okay.
And Mayor, I want to add too, thank you all for supporting the COLA increase. These employees have worked extremely hard, and I really do
Yes, they
appreciate
have.
that.
Yeah. All right, all in favor of 11-9, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's passes 4-0. Next item is 11-10. A resolution supporting a grant application for the Town Center Trail Phase 3 project by the Mount Juliet Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee in the city of Mount Juliet for the Tennessee Department of Transportation's upcoming grant cycle. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments?
Okay. The Town Center Trail Phase 3. Give me a description of where that's going to
I
go
think it
to.
goes to the school, but I'll let the
Which,
city engineer say it.
Certainly. So yes, this is an extension. So where phase 2 ends is at South Green Hill Road. There's a parking lot there, trailhead, I guess you could say. This would basically take it from there, take it west, would stay on the north side of Division most likely, and then cross, probably have another trailhead there somewhere near the school, and then make a safe crossing across Division Street there where the crossing.
you're talking about
guard
Mount
would be.
Juliet Elementary School?
Yes,
right?
Mount
Yeah.
Juliet
Okay.
Elementary. That's correct. Sorry.
Okay, considering that this particular grant and this particular project took us, 27 years to complete?
13.
Was it 13? I'm sorry.
8
But-
officially.
I'm a little worried about the length of time it's going to take.
That's a good point. And I would say that there were some issues with that one. Putting some other more recent projects in perspective, we were able to take the Lebanon Road sidewalks that's under construction right now. That's been about 4 years. I believe the Woodridge Place sidewalk project was, I think one was 3, one was 4 years. And each of those had some easements to them. And so we've had varying success. I would say we've had some good consulting teams that really helped us out speed up some of these more recent ones. And to me, what I found is it's all about the team that you get selected, and they can really help you out and speed that up. I'd say you are looking at easements, acquisitions on this project. Might be closer to the 4-year time frame, but I would say given a good team, we've got good staff in place to help oversee that. So I think you're probably looking around that 4-year time frame.
I've got to say this, and of course, I think everybody knows I'm not a big fan of government. Okay. But when I hear that a project that includes a sidewalk that goes, how far is this one?
About 3/4 of a mile.
Okay, so 3/4 of a mile of sidewalk that is 5 feet wide, correct?
This is actually a 10-foot greenway.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're calling it taking 4 years. We're calling that a success to build a sidewalk. There's nothing successful about that. That is when government has just gotten in the way. Okay, that just drives me berserk. I mean, it's like the red light at Park Glen, and it took us 8 years to get a red light from a grant. And hey, success. We got a red light 8 years later. That's not success. That is bureaucracy at its worst, and which is what TDOT is famous for. So anyway, I've ranted enough. Thank you.
Got to start.
Yes,
If you don't start now, it'll be 5 years.
I know.
That's true.
Be time frame plus delay.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 4-0. Next one is 1111, a resolution to authorize the city manager, parks director, and finance director to negotiate the purchase of land for future parkland. I think we just did that.
Yeah.
Motion.
All right. Second.
I just asked that, that's on the table. I just asked we defer it just to give Commissioner Giles an opportunity to weigh in at the next meeting.
Okay.
So motion to defer one meeting.
I'll make that second on that. Any questions or comments on the advisability of deferment? All in favor of deferring, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? That passes 4-0. 1112, sorry, Mr. Cruz, to make you sit through that, but I could not ask the citizens to sit through a bond presentation. You could have had a work session with us and maybe sped up your process. So we'll get it on the table, and then I assume you've got a presentation for us. Is that, or no?
Just a discussion.
Discussion. This is not a voting item tonight?
Well, this is a voting item.
Okay. All right, let's do 1112. It only says a resolution for an initial bond resolution. Is there a motion for that?
I'll make a motion.
I'm going to say, I don't want him to go home.
I'll second that.
He sat here for an hour and a half. He deserves to be heard.
Yeah, from what I read, there was little plan to this from the city manager. Is that right?
Who's leading this discussion?
Your sponsorship.
Ms. Dana?
Basically, a couple weeks ago, Sam called me. Sam Cruz is our financial advisor, and we have series bonds from 2016 that expire in 14 years. They are currently at 2.45%, and Sam believes we can get a much better rate. He's estimating conservatively at 1.5%, which would save the city about $760,000 over the next 14 years. Tonight, what you have, this is sort of a two-part thing. The first part is we need sort of a consensus that you want to, or you're interested in refinancing these bonds, because the first step is to go to create a refunding plan and then present that to the comptroller's office. That doesn't require anything other than your interest in refinancing the bonds, so that we can prepare that and send that to the comptroller's office. They have to approve that, and then we bring it back to you. The second part of that is you can borrow an additional amount. Right now it's just over 8 million. We can borrow an additional amount up to 10 million to still be considered bank qualified, which means we get a lower rate. That means we could borrow additional funds, about 1.3, not to exceed probably 1.4 million. We could use those for the PD expansion that's currently being discussed, and the architecture is being bid out now. I believe they've just made their selection. This isn't a requirement. This is an opportunity that I wanted to bring before you to see if that's what you would be interested in doing. It's not something that you have to do. We have reserves, but it's a very low rate, and it's an opportunity to just borrow at a very low rate and then move those reserves, because right now we have $40 million in capital projects budgeted, and I have $24 million in transfers, but a $10 million borrowing. So just to sort of secure those reserves, move for the capital projects, I wanted to bring this to you to say we can borrow this at a very low rate to pay for the PD expansion and save those reserves for the capital projects.
Discussion?
So if I understand it, you're just looking at, when you're talking about the 10 million there, you're talking about bringing that on board. So we can so basically we're keeping it to put it, I guess, in my terms, is we can keep the money that we have now in our cash reserves, and we can keep that allocated towards our transportation improvements, I believe is where the bulk of that is allocated towards.
Yeah, and that's just the 1.4 million that we're talking about. This resolution is just saying that you're intending to borrow, because what this does is this starts a process. We'll have to, if you approve this, the saying that it's the intent to borrow for the additional 1.4 million. Then we have to advertise the intent for 20 days. And then after that point, then, Sam, do you want to come? Sam is much more eloquent in discussing the process of it and the timeline. Would you mind?
I'm just going
Is that
to
okay?
throw this out there. I don't feel any upward pressure in the next several months on rates. So I don't know that there's any advantage to pull the trigger now.
Well, this would take it's going to take a little time to get this. So we're talking weeks in advance, because we've got the 20 days.
I'm talking
but
months,
yeah.
maybe years. There's no upward pressure on rates. So I think we would do it, when appropriate, rather than just doing it as a safety valve. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
So as Dana said, the primary idea was the refinancing, and those bonds can be refinanced at any time. So every day that goes by on those bonds is a day you could have had a rate that's about half what your current rate is. So that was the original idea, is let's refinance to save money. There is a certain amount of cost of issuance that always goes with a public offering of bonds. So it was Dana's idea to say, if we could add an extra $1.3 million with very little, almost no additional cost of issuance, maybe that's something to consider. So that's really the only advantage to adding that, is that there's not much additional expense in adding on to the refinancing issue. So the bonds would be like for the purpose of refinancing and public improvement. But, and I think the refinancing, your rate would be, well, and even, let me just add, even on this new money, if you paid it off over like 5 or 6 years, the rate is like 0.6%. It's like a little over half of 1%. The refinancing bonds go out 14 years. So, you'd be dropping your rate almost in half from what you're paying now.
Yeah, I'm interested in the refi, but I'm not personally interested in taking on a new issue. That's just me.
And man, rate now versus rate, or the rate we're paying now versus what it would be. What was the numbers?
You're paying 2.45 right now.
Okay, and it would be what?
In the plan that we would submit to the comptroller, I'm assuming around a 145. I've got cushion in that for expectation. I think your rate would be closer to 1.25, but I mean, the rate can change every day.
So we're looking at 1% difference.
Yes. Which is basically dropping it in half almost.
Just math. It saves you money.
It doesn't extend the
Makes him a lot
life.
of money.
No.
Cost of issuance, and the advantage would be if we were drawing money out, we'd pay that one time. Is that a flat fee, or is that based on just the amount that we're dealing with, or?
The cost of issuance?
Yes.
It's one time. That's the bond rating and lawyers and advisors and such.
Like closing on a house.
It's exactly. And
Do you want to say, city manager?
Yeah, Mayor and Commissioners, the reason that when Dana spoke to me about this, the cost savings is what appealed to me the most, is the savings. The other was an add-on, which was an idea we want to put in front of you. Most importantly, the cost savings the refinance could bring.
But even if we avoid the second cost of issuance, then we're paying in, while it would be minimal interest, we would be paying interest on that additional funds that we borrowed. So I suppose there's a break even at some point on that.
I think it's probably a topic needs to come up after November 3rd. Who knows who's going to be sitting in these seats and how they're going to feel about those kind of issues. And
The borrowing and the refinance.
I mean, the refi to me is a no-brainer,
Yeah.
but if you want to add extra principal to it, I think that's got to be, the next group's got to talk about that. That's just my feeling. But I'm a little bit on the conservative side. We are number one in efficiency in government, I would add. Do we need to vote on this? Is this
On the, yes, on the
You
initial
want to defer
resolution.
3 meetings?
Yeah, let's defer it.
So
Yeah, we don't have to do the borrowing. If you don't want to do the borrowing, we can
Just do
you
the
can just,
refinance.
yeah, you can vote this down and just do the refinance.
I mean, it may have merit. It just depends who's here and how they want to structure the finances. That's all. Are you kind of no on it?
No. No.
You're going to be here either way. What are you feeling like?
I mean, I'd say refinance to get the savings over what we're having now, but I'm not sold on borrowing more. I'd defer to the capital improvement plan off until next week, but I'd at least like to have a discussion on that and get that in place before we, get a full plan at what we have coming down the pipeline, and then look, and we may decide that we do need to borrow more, or we may decide that we're in great shape with the cash reserves that we have now.
What are you thinking?
The refi. I don't
But not
know.
adding 1.4 million to it? Yeah.
No.
Sounds like you got an answer.
Just an opportunity.
I think we ought to defer it though, because the next group could take this up. And I don't know how that'll fall in your timelines with your different advertising periods and your whatever requirements you have on the refi, but we could defer it.
First meeting in December?
I would kind of say something, but I would say that if you were going to defer the new money part, then really it's kind of the tail wagging the dog a little bit if we wait on the refi, because every basis point is $8,000 on your refi. So and every week that goes by is a couple $1,000s by having the old bonds out there. So I think it would be penny wise, pound foolish to delay the refi for a month or two to see whether you're going to add $1 million to it.
Gotcha.
And you can always do, another bond issue next year or next quarter or whatever. there are
Gotta eat
some
then, too.
cost efficiencies to doing it now. But again, I don't think you want to have the tail wag the dog.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay.
I don't think it's a $1.4 million issue anyway. That's not a lot of money in the scheme of things with the cash reserves, but so.
Okay. You heard that it sounds like 4 out of 5 want to refi
Yes,
quickly.
yes. That will go out tomorrow.
Without the additional.
Yeah, so let's vote this down and be done with it then. How about that? All in favor of the resolution for the initial bond resolution, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I thought we were going to vote it
I'm
down.
sorry. I thought we were deferring again.
Okay. All in favor of adding 1.4 million to the refi, signify by saying aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Okay, that does fail 0-4. Okay? But I think we're interested, I think you heard clearly, we're interested in the refinance.
So do we need another resolution then brought back to do that?
I think you just,
That will come at a later time.
Gotcha.
We'll go ahead and get the refunding plan to the comptroller's office, and then once that's done, we'll bring it back.
okay? And that said agenda, we did defer the last item, which was a discussion item. We'll have that at our next meeting, and thank you all very much. We are adjourned.
8 o'clock.